source of inspiration for me. He's a spoken word poet in America. He's been on HBO Def Poetry Jam twice, got a standing ovation for one of his poems, Danger. And he's just a really all-around amazing individual, and just probably one of the most talented artists that I've ever, and most sincere artists that I've ever come across. I'm very proud to call him a friend. And the two of us work very well together. We're both pretty eccentric and strange, but somehow that marriage works out together. So visual verses is a concept we came up with. Really, initially, it was just for us to stay fresh in our creativity, to do something quick that we could keep staying on our creative toes. And so what it is that either he'll write a poem and then send it to me, and then I'll create the visuals for it, right? Without any collaboration with him directly, other than the fact that he wrote the poem. And then I'll create the visuals to it, and then we just have to accept it. So he'd have to accept whatever I did, and then we're going to put it out. Sometimes I'll create the visuals, and then he'll write a poem to it without me telling him, write it this way or this is what. So he interprets my visuals in his own way, and I interpret his words in my own way visually, and then we just kind of call it like a visual mashup. We just mash them together and then put them out that way. And, we've done several of them. We've both been busy traveling over the past few months, so we haven't been able to shoot any. But I've talked to him, and when I get back, we're going to do the next one, inshallah. Organizations that are dealing with Islam in a modern context, how Islam is coping with modernity, or how modernity and Islam meet. And organizations like SimplyIslam, like Seeker's Guidance, like Al-Ghazali, is it Ghazali Center? Ghazali Institute in Australia, and then Ta'leef Collective, which I'm a part of in California. I think one of the most significant things about all these organizations is that they have their own ways of dealing with issues, and they all have kind of like their own niche. But the most interesting thing is that we all work together. We're all on different sides of the planet, but we're all very close-knit. We share practices, and I'm been brought over here to Singapore twice now through SimplyIslam. I'm on my way to Melbourne, Australia, and that's through Afros and Al-Ghazali, right? And Shaykh Faraz Rabbani from Seeker's Guidance is a good friend of mine. I call him all the time with fiqh questions. He answers this for me, Sheikh, And so, but what I think is important is for people to realize, because I think with these organizations, as they are receiving more notoriety in the public realm, people wanting to start their organizations also based on the work that they see these people doing. And I think that's great, and I think we should encourage that. But I think it's important to note that each place that is going to do or start one of these organizations, that the organization needs to cater to the needs of that particular community first and foremost. So it's not just like a carbon copy, hey, Ta'leef sounds great, we want a Ta'leef here, right? Ta'leef is very much a Bay Area organization, and it's great that if what we're doing there also applies to places outside of the Bay Area, or places even outside of the United States, that's great, and for us that's an added benefit. But our primary focus is the people that are right there on the ground, because Islam is a people religion, right? And so it's about taking care of the social elements that are there on the ground. I think that's the most significant thing about these organizations too, is that they're not just teaching fiqh, they're not just teaching the different madahibs, but they're really, really places that are focusing on the social elements of Islam. And I think that's where the void is for the youth, is that it's either masjid or bust, right? But they go to the masjid and they feel disenfranchised, or let's be honest, they get yelled at, right? You stepped in the masjid with the wrong foot, or you're not dressed properly, or your prayer's not valid, you didn't make wudu the right way, and that's not very encouraging for people. And so there's not a place for them to go. And so oftentimes that becomes the club, or that becomes the parties, some other place, because people need the social element of Islam. So these type of organizations that are created now, that are kind of catering to the youth, and by youth, we don't mean like teenagers. Youth is up until 40 for us as Muslims, right? So sorry, Mr. if you're 41, you can't come to Ta'leef. But no, in all honesty, there needs to be that social element, and I think people really need to read the Sirah, to study the Sirah of the Prophet Muhammad. And as a good friend of mine, Imam Suhaib, who also is somebody who does this type of work and really relates to the youth, he says that we need to change the way we translate the Arabic language, or the way we translate these texts into English. And so like when we say that the Prophet Muhammad used to spend time with the companions and they used to do some activities, when we speak like that, it doesn't mean anything to the youth, right? What we should really say is that the Prophet Muhammad and his friends, they used to kick it, right? They used to hang out, right? That's what they used to do, is they kick it, they used to hang out. And we don't have to use this Shakespearean language, this archaic languages that nobody speaks anymore, that the youth don't understand anymore. And so that's why I think these organizations like Ta'leef Collective, like Seeker's Guidance, like Simply Islam, like Al-Ghazali Institute, like what's important, what they're doing is that they're relevant to the youth, right? When we hear this discourse a long time, we have to make Islam relevant. We don't have to make Islam relevant. Islam is relevant. We ourselves have to be relevant. And I think that's an important distinction.